my little presentation. Can you see that?
I can see it. If we can get a couple just like thumbs up stickers or anything, or even in the chat, that would be great, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. Awesome. Perfect.
Good. All right. Well, thank you all for taking time out of your lunch to talk a little monumental mindset action here. Um, we came into winter break and we're thinking about different ways that we could continue to motivate and encourage um, you know, not necessarily good behavior, but that's kind of the best way to describe it. I think that um, we have so many opportunities to go and have these unique experiences, and we wanted to take full advantage of that pretty early this year. So also thank you for your flexibility of the quicker turnaround here, but the gist of this trip is we have students that are working hard and are absolutely crushing it in all different areas of Alpha Middle School, from academics to behavioral to the community to Genesis Project. So we wanted to be able to take them on, I think fundamentally an academic based journey to DC, where they can learn a lot about our nation's history and also take a really fun trip that they have the ability to select what they want to do while they're there. I think that's a really awesome part of this opportunity as well. So, dubbed Monumental Mindset is the fun name that we came up with. So, here are the requirements for unlocking the Monumental Mindset trip. This is a session long plan. So I know in certain check charts in the past, they might have had weekly accomplishments. This one is more of a, quote unquote, longer term. If we're talking for middle school students, I think 7 weeks would be considered a long term for some of them. So making sure that they can um, uh, monitor their actions and behaviors throughout the entire session rather than focusing on it week by week. So you'll notice in here we have some academic pieces. So 125% or more of core skills in 2 out of the 6 weeks of session. We have some of our behavioral options, no warnings throughout the entire session. So for um, you know, situations where they might not be doing what they're supposed to do, they can be given a ding, and then a certain amount of dings adds up to a warning. So we've already seen better behavior there. So that's awesome, as everybody's being locked in and they know that they have a fun trip that they get to go on if they're doing what they're supposed to. Nominating Purple Plum. Purple Plum is somebody in the community that's gone above and beyond in one of our life skills throughout the course of a week. So we've had some awesome Purple Plum submissions so far. Passing the Genesis test to pass. We're going to do that towards the end of the session. I am fully confident that our group is going to crush their Genesis test to pass. So that'll be um, that will be one of the last remaining requirements that we come up on as we enter that final week of February. But the Genesis project right now it's been awesome to see where they are and how they're progressing through that. So that Genesis test to pass, I'm confident that if they're interested in this trip, that they will hit that no problem. 100% weekly completion of core skills in your custom skill plan. We threw this in there for our students that are behind grade level in subjects. And I know we have some newer students that might not be necessarily rostered in the correct grade level. So that is a case by case basis. I think the important thing here is if they can stay out of back to basics, if they're getting at least 100% of their core skills week by week, they're going to be in a really good spot. And some custom skill plans might include maybe focusing on an area that they're a little bit more behind. So, if they're behind a grade level in reading or behind a grade level in math, they might focus more on those skills than being well-rounded throughout this session. So it's case by case, and I'm working with our academic team to um, make sure that we have those tailored plans for every student, and so that I can check in with them and say, hey, make sure that we're getting our reading done this week so that you can go on this trip. And then finally participate in at least 2 workshops other than Genesis with 100% attendance. So with that attendance, that means that if they're at school, they are attending the workshop. We had a couple instances last session where students were trying to opt out of workshops to focus on a study hall or something along those lines for certain days that they might not want to go to the workshop because they knew that it was going to be hard, or they knew, like in my workshop, that they were going to be running and jumping and lifting weights and stuff like that. So if they're at school, the expectation is that they are attending their workshops, and so far so good. We've had great attendance so far. So that's kind of a quick rundown of the requirements. We wanted to make it, above normal expectations because this is a really cool trip for them to be able to participate in, but also make it reasonable because there are a lot of amazing things going on in our level right now. So it's cool to see them be excited about this trip, and we're going to give them the opportunity to choose what they want to do and essentially vote on the different areas that we can explore in DC. We definitely want to make sure that we're hitting the highlights from things like the Smithsonian and the big sites, from the what is it, the Washington Mall and the Lincoln Memorial. I mean, it'd be great if we could go see, Declaration of Independence and all sorts of awesome things, but also be able to go do fun activities, from shopping to a sporting event, maybe find a concert of some sorts to check out. So we're going to give them a full list of options, and we're going to let them be able to decide how the trip looks, and we'll have enough coverage to be able to have a couple different groups split off into, what they're interested in while they're there. It won't be anything crazy. I anticipate it would be two, maybe three groups that we can separate based off of interests, but then there'll be certain activities that we'll all do together, like Smithsonian tours or seeing the big sites of the Capitol as well. We're also working on going through Congress to potentially get a tour of the White House if possible. So we're waiting to hear back on that, but we're really just trying to make the most of the trip to DC and also give the students the ability to pick and choose what they want to do, because at the end of the day, this is a trip that they've earned, and middle school students love being able to have their say in it, and we want to fully give them their say in what they want to do. So that's kind of a quick rundown of everything that I have there. If anybody has any questions on the requirements of the trip, our logistics as far as like the day-to-day schedule of the trip, I think we're going to leave that a little bit flexible right now, just because we want to let the students pick what they want to do. Um, Me and Emily are creating a list right now of options for them to vote on. And as we get towards early February, certainly we'll start voting on those options. So we'll have a better idea of what the day-to-day will look like when they're on the trip. But so far, we've had a ton of excitement from the students. They're pumped up about it. It's meant to be a fun trip. While there will definitely be some educational pieces, like this is hey, you've been working hard, you've been kicking butt, like let's let's celebrate by going and taking a fun trip to DC. Kind of one of those, it seems like everybody was able to take a trip to DC in middle school. Along the lines, I didn't get to take that trip when I was in middle school, so I'm pumped about it too, to be able to go finally check it out and see all of the sites and museums and whatnot. But it's going to be a good time.
Thanks, Drew, for all of that. And yeah, we're happy to answer questions now. as best as we can in this moment. Yes, Kelly.
Hi there.
Hi.
My Gwendolyn is new, so I just wanted to make sure that are these requirements really communicated to the students directly? Because I know that she's really excited about this, but she may be behind in certain areas, so she really needs to, make some progress in order to be able to do this. I can come from my end, of course, to let her know this, but on a day-to-day basis, if this is being communicated through you, that would be even more excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we'll do like a weekly check-in on, hey, reminder, here's the requirements for the trip. Let's make sure that you're doing everything you're supposed to. I do little check-ins one by one with the students as well, saying, hey, make sure that we're checking in with the six requirements here for the trip. We post it on our Google Classroom too, so they can access it whenever if they're like, oh yeah, what was the core skill requirement? Okay, perfect, 125% in 2 out of the 6 weeks, right? So I'm definitely checking in with them. I think too, it's a fine line between making sure I'm not holding their hand through the entire thing of saying like, hey, like this is an opportunity for you to show some independence here. And um, Gwen's been doing a great job of being on track for this. And what we really want to see is if they're putting forth honest, good effort towards accomplishing these, like, we're going to be reasonable with them of, like, um, if somebody forgets a purple plum one week to submit a purple plum, like, okay, that's all right. It's not the end of the world. Like we want to be, we understand that life happens and that there's a lot going on in their lives as well. So we're reasonable for sure, but I'm checking in with them definitely weekly and making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I'm responding to a couple questions in the meeting chat, but I'll just say them out loud as well. So the first one is about costs associated with the trip. They earned it and it will be covered by Alpha. For this one specifically, I know a couple have been different or like pay half, pay full, but this one's covered. Um, as far as where the group will stay, we're going to stay in a hotel with 2 to 3 students, same gender per room next to each other, similar to what happened in Poland. This isn't a place where like Airbnbs with like, that fit 20 is very common, where we typically stay in like Brownsville or Miami and things like that. So it'll be in a city hotel, so we're not like driving in from a suburb. And as far as chaperones, it'll be L3 guides plus myself, and that will be as needed. Based on numbers. If we have 20 students go, it would look a lot different than having 5 students go. We typically have a ratio of like 1 to 3 to 4 students with travel. So it'll look like that depending on numbers. And then how many days total, including travel, it will be ideally March 4th through the 7th. That's correct, right, Drew? 4th through 7th. I'm gonna make sure my dates aren't. Oh, Drew, you're muted real quick.
Tuesday to Friday, that first week of March, which is the 4th to the 7th. Yep.
Um, so ideally we want this to be like during the school week as well, just so we're not, missing anyone like, oh, I have a dance competition or a wedding on Saturday, things like that. So we tried to keep it between those days, but we also want to be mindful that's coming back from a session break, so we don't want them to go immediately on Monday. So that's why we pushed it to that Tuesday. But if we do get word that we have a White House tour on Saturday, we can definitely accommodate and kind of see what parents are thinking and what students are thinking and shift it to like Wednesday to Saturday, but hoping that it can be that Friday.
Okay, guys, this sounds really fun. Thank you for putting this together. Like I wish I could go. So I think this is really awesome. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Of course, we're really excited, and I feel like it's the alpha way to be like, every eighth grader, it seems, gets to go on a DC trip, but only alpha kids get to design theirs. My brother's, he's in ninth grade now, but last year, like a couple months ago, took this DC trip, and they had their parent meeting, a year and a half in advance, and everything was completely organized, and they were just little ducks in a row following to where they needed to go. There was no like autonomy, no decisions in it. So it's really cool to see this piece. And of course, it's like we're not going to give them choice paralysis where it's like pick anything here in DC. Like we'll give them those options, and then a guide will be with each group. If one decides to go shopping in Georgetown, one goes to a sporting event. There will always be a guide with the group, but they'll get to break off and kind of see things they're excited about, which is cool. And then what date do students need to decide whether they want to join the trip, Drew?
Yeah, so I mean we have for the requirements on my end of the trip, there are some kind of weekly quote unquote requirements. So like it won't be a thing where they can decide last minute if they want to go on the trip necessarily. So it's something that they kind of have to be working towards now. But if they're working towards it now and they decide, I mean, when do we need to know for flights by, I guess would be the kind of logistical question.
Yeah, ideally, I mean, that first week of February, you said we'll have more of an idea. So, I mean, ideally, the second or third week of February would be great to book flights just for like price and, availability. We don't want to get to the week before and we're booking a bunch of hotel rooms and it's like non-existent. Luckily, there's no big events happening in DC the 4th through the 7th. And we're sadly missing the cherry blossoms, but I know it's a little more crowded then and obviously right now with the inauguration. So we're kind of in a good place there as far as availability still, but want to keep that in mind for flights and hotels. So looking for like second, third week of February.
And I'm not sure if you saw Stacy's message.
Yes, I'm
Like how
responding to that now. We're reaching out to the Congress member. That's just what was said to do. But if you have a contact that isn't just like cold calling, what we're essentially doing right now, that would be amazing. Feel free to parent square me, message me, email me, any of that. That's great. Awesome. Thank you, Stacy. And yes, we want to keep this brief. And we're happy to answer any more questions, but we know it's snow day, kids are home and things are happening still. Um, so yeah, if you need to go, feel free. But we'll continue to be on for a bit if you need questions answered.
and just a reminder, the requirements they're on the students Google Classroom. Did you link them in the Parent Square message as well to the presentation? I can't remember. One way or the other, we'll make sure that we get that sent out to parents as well so that you guys can see what the requirements are, and we can attack it from both angles, making sure that students are getting their work done.
Yes. Yes, it is on the parent meeting announcement that was 6 days ago on how to secure their spot, but I'm happy to also attach the PowerPoint because I just typed it out. So I can do a follow-up with this recording and PowerPoint.
Perfect.
Perfect. Awesome. And we're going to continue encouraging the kids, but if if your students at home and now you know about this and you know the details and stuff, if you want to encourage them or give them a little push, or ask some questions about it. I know a lot of students are excited and we want that follow-through piece. Because I think it's going to be great for all of them, even just the social aspect of getting to do this with their friends. So if you want to give them a little nudge, we're going to do the same thing, but I know it's good to hear from multiple places, especially in middle school. Well, awesome. Drew, do you have anything else?
No, just to reiterate your message there of, like there's so many cool opportunities as far as an education standpoint goes in DC, but we are definitely emphasizing the social aspect of it. Like, what a awesome opportunity to create, lifelong friendships on an amazing trip like this. So that's something that I've been talking with the students about as well, of like, okay, you might not give a hoot about, the history in DC, but hey, come along with your friends, and at the very least that they'll soak it up by being there, in person, and maybe it'll spark some more interests about our nation's history or something along those lines for our students. And just yeah, it's a really cool opportunity, and we're excited. So thank you all for taking the time today.